Hey, everybody. I'm Craig Carlisle, and this is my cousin. What's your name,
Dr.
cousin?
Mich- Dr. Michelle Knight.
I just call her Shell myself. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Well, unless you
absolutely.
say Shell from Dago. That's
You
also
know what? That'll come up later.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So, for some of you that know us, yeah, we did a thing. And those who don't know us, we did a thing. And now I forgot what it was. Shell, what did we just do?
You know what? We started a podcast. Oh my God. We did it. We did it. So we each have our own platforms. We each are voices in the community, voices for this generation. And we decided to come together, not only as cousins, but bringing our experiences, our relationships, our knowledge, our businesses, all of those things to create the Knight and Craig show where people can receive the healing that they need from a faith perspective as well as from a psychology or life coaching perspective. And so we're bringing it all together because we realize we've been on an individual journey doing individual things. And there are many of you where your lives, you've been on an individual journey and feel alone. And so we realized through our conversations, we weren't alone. And so we want to invite you to be a part of this journey of healing and exploration and manifesting those things that are really for us in this next season of our lives.
So here's an episode that we did just around being thankful, something we wanted to release for Thanksgiving because our first season is actually going to release after Thanksgiving. But, I felt like we really should do something here to speak to the people. So hope you enjoy it. Leave us a comment. Follow us on our social media. We are at Knight and Craig on both Instagram and Facebook. And pretty soon we will also have probably shortly after this airs, we'll have our YouTube channel established as well. You can also send us an email at knightandcraigshow@gmail.com. Leave us a comment, join us, get in the discussion with us. I hope you enjoy this first preview episode.
Enjoy.
I came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mightiest with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is the same. Ascending, word bending, birds, birthed in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh is antithesis of mess. It's the precious supreme. Hold on, you better catch a God throwing blessings. Dreams manifest, did you get what I mean? God always had a plan, he created for me. Success only means that I did what he seen. Got the game and the fans locked in like a key. Sitting on the throne with a crown, I'm a king.
I'm not sure many of us really know what it is to be thankful, to be truthful.
Right.
And if we do know what it means, I don't know how many of us allow ourselves to be truly thankful, because I don't know if we really are. Because if we think about what the Lord has done for us, and I know some people don't believe in God, they believe in whatever, but be it as you may, when you really get down to what life is all about, just to have the next breath that you're gonna get, not being thankful for the one that you're using, I think is a thing. And knowing what you might have lived through to this point, would be health issues, non-health issues, made it through, airplane trips and car rides and whatever it's taken to get to this point right now. Are we really thankful for what the Lord has done, or do we really just take it for granted, like we think we're old and entitled something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was driving down the street. It was yesterday, and I
In your
was like,
six
"Thank
four,
you."
driving down the
Yeah.
street in your 6'4". I'm sorry, my bad.
And so I said, I start every morning with gratitude. First of all, so I've learned that is a key to continual doors opening, right?
Sure.
And so I was driving down the street yesterday, and we're coming back from Walmart, and I just busted out and was like, "Thank you, Lord." And so I think I say that so much now that my family doesn't question it. And it made me think about my dad. And he would be driving down the street and he'd be like, "Oh God, I'll thank you." And I'm like, "For what?" Like, like what's going on?
Yeah.
To the point where that's like, I get it now. It doesn't have to be
that something happened. It's realizing in this moment that I truly am grateful for everything that has happened. You know, if I started going down a list, you know, that list would not end.
Yeah.
You know, because I could start with the, like you said, the basic things of, and we pray in the morning every day going to school too, you know, the basic things of thank you for waking us up, thank you for giving us activities of our limb, thank you. And I started since we've been living here, my prayers have changed too, honestly.
Really?
I yeah, I have a deep sense of gratitude and I feel grounded here. Wasn't that I wasn't grateful before, that I wasn't thankful before. And I think these transitions in our lives that you and I are in too, with going from for going from being an employee to solopreneurship and business ownership and creating legacy, and you know, it's on us. If we don't kill it, we can't eat, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a different level of gratitude for that too. And I realized that I had taken my job in some sense for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But being here, I started saying things like, um, I want to see God in the smallest things. And I've done a couple of different videos about that. I want to hear him in the smallest things. And I was grateful for the ants. They are annoying, but they are on their job.
Yeah.
And it's winter, we're fall. The ants are out. They're storing up for the winter. And it's like we can learn a lot from ants. And I heard people say that before, but that didn't mean anything to me.
Sure.
So there's just this different level. So I started praying to see God in the smallest things, and even in the most annoying things or things that I might have taken for granted before.
Mm-hmm.
But there's such purpose in everything in these seasons and these cycles. So yeah.
I didn't used to really think about stuff like that until you lose something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
something doesn't have to always jump to the, oh, well, he lost his wife, I get it. No, it doesn't even have to be that. We may lose a job, we may lose a car, you may lose a house, you may lose, you may lose a person.
An opportunity in realizing.
Yeah. But it's like a friend of mine I used to work with many years ago. I think it's Ray Van Gann. He used to always say, treat me how you want to treat me, but you're going to miss me when I'm gone. Mm-hmm. And I used to laugh, like, oh, Ray, whatever. Because he was part of that crew. I was privileged to work with two dudes that were significantly older than me. There was such wisdom that these guys would impart. And thankfully, they're both still alive. Mm-hmm. And when you think about that, you assume you're going to be given so much more time to get things right, to have the conversations, to work things out, to do whatever it is. We're not always guaranteed to get tomorrow. We're not guaranteed to get through the thought that you're having right now, right? And when you look back on how many breaths you've taken, how many thoughts you've made through, how many years have gone past you, some you might say, damn. And it makes sense why, people may say, hey, I'm gonna have my little midlife crisis because I'm missing out on something because I think I'm not sure how much time I got left. I'm gonna go finally get life, live my best life, right? But imagine if we lived our best life from day one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, and don't go there, because then there's some regret that we would all have to deal with, right? When you think about, I thought about that on my weight loss journey, and then I just stopped it and I said, what if, when I realized that I was getting heavier than I wanted to be, many years ago, knew I had a thyroid issue. I was grateful that it wasn't cancer. I gave God praise for that, because the enemy wanted to make me think that because my dad died of cancer, that I was going to have cancer. So when I had these nodules and these cysts on my thyroid, it's like, that's cancer. And it was like, that's what I was thinking. And so I knew that I had this weight issue and that my body wasn't functioning right, but it didn't stop me, because I was still alive and I could still choose. And then one day I looked up and it's like, you are over 200 and something pounds. You're 5'2". All you're doing is buying bigger clothes. What the heck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know, and I had to have that discipline moment, look at myself and say, you lack discipline, and let the tears fall. And that was after I had already been through a weight loss challenge at church. Things provided to us, walking, access, information that I simply was not applying. So you fast forward 3-5 years later, I've gained 25 to 30 pounds more than what I was, which means I have to get that off before I even get back to where I was.
Yeah.
And so there's some regret, if we don't really tap into that gratefulness and that attitude of seize the moment, be in this moment. Don't let this opportunity pass you, because you may or may not get it again. And we're fortunate when we do, but it's not guaranteed.
That's the part right there. It's so often we think it's guaranteed. I have a friend of ours that's gone through, I think it's at least 3 brain surgeries and cancers and other parts of their body. And it's like, it's easy to look at other people's life journey and go, oh my God, they should be glad to be alive. And but I find myself going, I'm just glad that it wasn't me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it doesn't always motivate me to get up and get out and walk, and it's to get up and go do a thing like that.
Yeah.
And I keep saying every morning, I used to walk my dogs probably 4 days a week, but then all of a sudden I stopped, and it's been 2 months. And
why'd you stop?
Well, we went to go see, I think it was mostly because we went to go see Shane and help him move, but just never got started again, because I kept saying, "Oh, I'm tired from helping him move," so I keep using an excuse. I want to rest. Okay, it's been 2 months. How much more rest do you need? And I'm like, okay, we probably need a lot of rest, but at the same time, you need a lot of exercise. You need to watch your diet, and there's always an excuse where I'll just rest for now, or I got to work to do in the morning. I got a client, and some of it is true, but could I have found 40 minutes to go walk? Could I have taken an hour to go do something before the sun goes down? Could I have gotten up a little bit earlier to take care of something that shifted my day? Yeah, I could have, but I didn't. And so I would rather, do something before a doctor says, now, if you don't do this, then this happens. And, then there's the embarrassment factor that comes in. It's like, you know what? I only have 2 good pair of pants. Well, 1 good pair of pants that I could wear comfortably right now and leave the house, on a casual. And I'm like, that's embarrassing, but it still doesn't help me get out and walk anymore,
Yeah.
But I need to get out and do that so that it comes off, right? And I keep thinking, wow, you don't look that bad. I'm like, well, looking that bad and looking bad and still being overweight are 3 different things, and for me, I just have to get beyond I think it goes back, we've talked about it before, about how we feel about ourselves and what self-care looks like.
Yeah.
And the weight didn't get on overnight, and it's just damn sure not going to fall off overnight.
No.
And it's not going to ever fall off. You may have it surgically cut off, but it's not going to just fall. We've got to put the work in. And I think if we are honest, even starting of weight loss journeys or journeys to sobriety for those who are, addicted to things, it has to start somewhere. And I don't know if we really give ourselves the footing to get started. That makes sense?
Yeah. I love that you're talking about like making excuses and giving ourselves the time. That is literally when I transitioned from corporate to solely doing this. I have to remind myself sometimes, like, girl, you've been doing this since 2016, so you're not a novice at being a business owner. Sure. You are a novice at only being a business owner.
Yeah, that part.
Not having the backing or the grace or the luxury, the privilege of having, supplemental income. And he gave me that exercise, and I don't know if I sent it to you. Did I send it to you yet? But he gave me to create my daily practice, and I've used that in a retreat to help other women specifically, but it's not a woman thing. Time, the time thing is not just a women's thing, but literally connecting what I'm doing to why I'm doing it, how it connects to my purpose, allotting the time, and then affirming that through a more positive, affirming belief as it relates to my purpose. Because a lot of times we don't do certain things because we don't realize the significance of it to our whole life of how we want to be, and that's what was downloaded to me. This is not just about you getting over this hump and getting a couple contracts. This is you designing and redeveloping, recreating your entire life.
Yeah.
How do you want that to be? Where are your boundaries? So I was just sharing with the lady, the host that I was with over the weekend, that I don't schedule appointments between 7 and 8 a.m. I don't schedule appointments between 2 and 3 p.m. because I am committed to waking up early, taking my kids to school and taking my son to work, those kids that are here that don't drive, and then picking them up from school, because that's how I want my entire life to be for the rest of my life, that they're in school. I want to be available to them. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, me and Big Daddy, we walk. We're supposed to. Sometimes we don't. I don't skimp on my workout. And I also honor that his body may be actually telling him to do something differently. So we modify that, but we still spend time together, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, specifically with the intent to work out, with the intent to be healthy together, because that's the way I want the rest of my life to be. So I don't take clients after a certain time. I have one client, and all the clients that I have that I will see at 7 o'clock. Everyone else, it's before 6, so I can end my night by 7.
Yeah. For me, I know. Listening to you share that portion, I had to be real with why I don't do certain things. And for me, I think that's sure what it is for a lot of people. It's fear. And you think, well, fear? What do you mean? What the hell you be afraid of to start a workout? But it is fear. What if you actually lose the weight that you want to lose? What if you actually look the way you really want to look? I had a time after Sandy died where I was like, I got on a weight loss journey, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna lose this weight. My goal. I just set the goal, not randomly, but I said I wanted to weigh less than I did when I got married. So I chose 225 because when I was weighing 225 years ago, I was strong. I was healthy. I don't say healthy. I'm healthy now, but I was strong. I was excited. It was a different part of my life and mentality. And I actually got there. I got married. I was 231 pounds. I actually got down the weight loss journey to 225. And I tell you, Shell, it was like someone kicked me in the and I didn't realize that losing that weight would have affected me in such a way. But realizing that my life could change and be different than it was while I was married, it took a lot of brain power to wrap my mind around that. And so much so that when I looked at the scale and saw the number, I actually felt terrified. I mean, there was a physical, like you would get the stomach quiver, right?
A visceral response.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I was like, because I really realized at that point, my life can be different. And I started another journey. The journey to gaining it all back.
Intentionally or subconsciously?
I'd have to say subconsciously, but it wound up being because I stopped working out as frequently, and it just kind of took me back to a place that I was comfortable with, where I had been comfortable for so many years. And the same thing is now. I mean, when you talk about what my life would look like if I wasn't this weight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there was, it's a mind game.
Yep. And that's in every motivational thing that I listen to at some point, it's not about your ability to do or your strength to do, or It's your mindset. It is absolutely the battlefield of the enemy. And I know there's a lot about idle mind is devil's workshop and all that stuff. And sometimes we're not idle. And it's still a playground. It's still the battle of literally our capacity and the priority and the importance that we put on something to do or not to do. Yeah. And even though we can see that the end game is this, I think that's why he gave me fear of success. He gave me that almost 15 years ago. And it was literally like we've talked about, you know, am I really deserving to be the size that I think I want to be? Am I really deserving of this good thing? Am I really deserving to even have the option to eat a pint of ice cream and not feel guilty, you know, sincerely, you know?
Yeah.
Because I never wanted to, at some point in my life, I thought, and I think it was a part of depression because I used to, when I was in high school, let's say high school all the way up to college, I worked out regularly.
Yeah.
I was running, I was walking. Even when I had the boys, I was able to snap back. Granted, I was younger, but that was freaky because when I snapped, the light came on.
Yeah, my son turned the light on for me, and he was.
I know, but that was just like right on cue.
Yeah.
Like, let there be light, mother.
You know what I'm saying?
But I was able to snap back.
Hold on one second. So did you make the changes that?
Well, I already made the changes prior to that meeting. I just told him that during because I had made edits after I sent him the email. But
Oh, so you'd already sent it before before you met with him? You already sent it?
No. I had sent him an email before I met with him, of course, like you told me to. But I had made edits to my essay after I sent him that email. And then, so I made those changes. I went back through last night, just made a couple more, and then I turned the thing in.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't send it back to him for review again.
Well, his thing was just saying to make it more personal.
Oh, okay. Well, do you think? Congrats, homeboy. It's going to be what it's going to be.
Now I got to do the Cal State's parts.
Those are easy now. Those are just box checks. Exactly. All right, do your thing, homeboy. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Anyway, I was able to snap back, and when I had Caitlin, I actually had lost weight versus gained weight. So I was smaller after she was born, which means that from 2014 for what year? She's 9. So up until 2 years ago, so 7 years, I gained over 50 pounds. And I think I gained it almost all of that in 1 year.
Oof. Wow.
So I had to change my mindset around whether it was almost like, forget about being deserving. Do you want to freaking live? Yeah. And that like, how are you, if you, okay, oh Lord. If you believe that there are promises that you are waiting on, if you believe that there is like manifested things that are supposed to happen that have not happened yet, if you believe that your life is I've seen myself on a stage. I've seen myself in places where I've never been before. And when I go there, it happened to me this weekend. When I go there, I'm like, I've seen this before and I've never been there. I've never been there, but I've seen it before. So if I believe that that is true, that I've seen things in places that I've never been before, and when I get there, I know that it's purposeful, and I believe that those promises that are still yet to come I don't believe that I'm just supposed to have a mansion in heaven. I'm supposed to, it says whatever is loosed in heaven, it's loosed on earth, whatever is bound in heaven is bound. So why would I thwart my own life by cutting it off short of receiving those things if I really believe that that's what I'm supposed to have?
Yeah, but I was shaking my head initially because I knew this is where you were going when you started, because that's a very obvious. I don't want to say it this way, but that's the right answer, right? but that's not the answer for most people. So
Yeah,
many,
I know, because I lived it. You have to get there.
right, and so many people aren't there. And then I think even when some of us get there, we're still not really there. Because
here's the other thing. I never feel like I arrive. So me getting here in this area is one accomplishment. Doesn't mean I can't backslide and go, back. But this is just one area. What if we were able to actually apply this to every part of our life?
True. I'm gonna beat that dog. Good Lord. I'm not gonna really beat the dog, but I want to beat the dog. What I'm trying to get my brain to not. If I want, at least I want to throw the pen at him. I'm gonna throw the pen at him. I think there's so often that we don't really think we're worthy of what we asked for.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it comes down to is our worth, versus like we talked about versus
the value of the work that we have.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we don't value the worth that we have on the value that we place on our lives is so far lower than it really is. And it's tough, right? Because when you really get down to it, it's work to control your mind. That Joyce Myers has the book Battlefield of the Mind, and like you said, out of mind is the devil's workshop. And he says sometimes never idle, because I know the enemy gets our thoughts sometimes constantly going and going and going and wondering the what ifs and what if that, what if this, and then
it's never ending.
Yeah, and that part has a huge degree of suckage to it, right?
Yes.
Because when you think about you've lived a certain way for more than 66 days, what it takes to make a habit, right? And then you have to try to go 66 more days in a row to break the habit. I haven't even learned to make my bed 66 days in a row, let alone 66 days to not have sugar or not have, for some people, maybe it's an alcoholic beverage or cigarette or foster a negative thought in our brain or, walk with our dog or children or exercise, whatever it is. But yet we need to be thankful and grateful for what we've got. You know what I'm saying? Because we live so far less. There's so many days I'm going to just say, you know what? I would be thankful for my life if it was different. And
but you wouldn't.
That's probably true.
Because we have to, gratitude starts with where you are.
And that's where a lot of people don't see. And because we know a lot of people don't like where we are. So if you don't like where you are, why the hell am I going to be thankful for it? My life sucks.
Because you're here. So you have the opportunity to recreate what you don't like about what it is that, right?
That part. And so in the recreation of it, we've got to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yes.
And it can be tough as nails to take advantage of one opportunity to the next opportunity to whatever it is opportunity.
Yep.
Because it's not easy.
It's not. And you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired of where you are.
Yeah.
Because that's the catalyst for change. I stayed in my first relationship way longer than I should have, because I was comfortable knowing what I could anticipate from that situation. Yeah. And the fear, you brought that up, the fear of the unknown was so much scarier than being stolen from, being lied to, being cheated on, because I knew how to deal with that.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah. You'd learn to be accustomed to that. Yeah.
Right. As Stephen will say, in a SEAL's life, the hardest day was yesterday, right? Every day is going to get harder. Every day is a challenge. Every day is a choice. And when I really got sick and tired of being sick and tired, then it was like, I don't have another choice because I'm not doing this no more.
Yeah.
I cannot. And I at that point, honestly, Craig, I didn't care what was on the other side of this. It was just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And obviously, since I said I stayed longer than I should have, I went back a couple times. I backslid. That's a literal meaning of backsliding. It's not just it's considered you sinned and you got to ask for repentance. It was literally I went backward in my own process so many times of trying to get it right, of trying to figure it out. And at some point I was like, it's never going to be perfect and I have to move.
Yeah.
I have, for my life's sake, I have to move.
Yeah. And I know there's a devotional that I'm started to write and I haven't finished it, right? Because I did do the teaching on it for a few weeks. I just know it's not finished yet. It's like when we did Dinner Served together. It was this one's called Thirst, because you can basically feel like using the concept of you bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. In the same thing is same premise, right? Our thirst for something will make us move. It'll alter our behavior. It'll move our hands. It'll move our feet. It'll move our brains. It'll move us off the X. But it gets to a point where we don't do what we want or think we're supposed to do. It's because we're not thirsty enough yet,
right?
Or we haven't been without long enough to the point where there are still other options for me to be able to choose to remain here.
Yes.
Right, where we are, overweight, alcoholic, or underpaid, underdeserved, underloved, because we're choosing the option of remaining on that X and letting the grenade or the bombs go off versus actually moving to what's better and safer. Because like the fear of the unknown, what if they actually do love me? What if I actually do love myself? What if I actually do something that's positive for me and not have a survivor's remorse? What if I do something that allows me to become better so I can do better for my family? Or forget about the family sometimes, do better for you. And what if I actually believe that I was worth the value that is actually on my life?
Yeah.
What if we actually release these shows and to help people? What if somebody actually were to hear this beyond the 2 or 3 people that we share this with? What if the world actually heard us be vulnerable and truthful and honest to the point where someone else could really hear what we are saying?
Right.
Because what we're saying is what some of the other people are thinking or maybe saying in their rooms by themselves with their tears falling, but choosing to remain on that X.
So many times that's the potential of the story, right? That we could tell ourselves. I'm worthy of being that princess, or that princess turned queen that needs to be saved, that gets to be saved by the knight in shining armor. I will have a healthy relationship. All of those things we tend to tell ourselves what's on the other side of the X, or what's on the other side of this is going to be worse.
Yeah.
And that's the fear that keeps us tethered to the past that we can predict. And so those dreams go unrealized. And to be honest, that means we're not dreaming anymore.
Yeah.
Because if you think back, and when life was like really hard and you knew it was hard.
Yeah.
Those times that we were talking about, like even in the last segment about looking at ourselves and knowing, for you, like the hygiene was a challenge. And for me, it was my skin and not eating properly, not being hydrated, not taking care of myself. We think back to those terrible times, and we look forward now and we'll see where we are now. Back then, it didn't seem like we were going to get out of that.
And when you're out of just even those moments, it makes you think, well, I can just easily go back to that because I'm still used to that. It's what I know. It's what I was comfortable with. I didn't have to change it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I could see that. I can see that. And I had to make a decision. You built a moat.
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference between your moat is and me. Like literally, I really want to cuss for effect right now. Like effing burning that bridge and not having a way back. That's what I had to do. I was like, there is no way, especially after number 2. That started the journey of who I am today, of identifying and going, I don't care how painful it is. It can't be no more painful than that. I don't care what I have to go through. I can't do, this is not only not how I dreamt my life would be. This is so far removed from life, like living. Even if I was, sometimes I felt, I want to give you a feeling. I felt so disgusted that I was not only failing myself, I was failing my kid. Because by now I got kids. Seemed like it was almost easier to stay in that space when it was just me.
Yeah.
When I had my kids, I was like, this isn't even half of what my childhood was.
Yeah.
And I always thought that I would not be better than my parents, but my parents always wanted me to be better than them. Right? And I couldn't see that insight anywhere. And I knew that it was me that was the problem. I couldn't blame them.
Yeah.
There were instances where I felt like as I got older, I felt confident I would handle something differently.
Yeah.
Right? But I couldn't blame them for being the reason of my trauma. Now, some people do have that story. So that may be a different path, a different journey. But even then, I think about my husband's story. He said literally he was his dad's punching bag. Yeah. And he got whippings for his sisters so that they wouldn't be hit by a man.
Yeah.
He knew that that was wrong when he was 10, 11, not whatever age he was. He knew that a man should not be hit by a woman. So he took those beatings.
Yeah.
And he made the decision, I'm not going to hit my kids.
Sure.
So I know sometimes we talk about hurt people, and sometimes the hurt that you have received, you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. Yeah. That's a part of my testimony.
Yeah. And while you're talking, though, I'm just looking back over my life. I look at, because there were points in the life that were so bad to me. It may not be as bad to other people, but it was so bad to me.
No, it's yours, though.
That even doing the smallest thing different or better than where I was enough. If that makes sense. So there wasn't even an arm's length from where I was to where we just were that was better than the alternative.
Absolutely.
So but there's
and that's the hope.
No, but I guess I still use that as that's still bad, because if you're living on a pile of poop, right? I mean, you're literally living on a pile of poop.
Yeah.
What's the difference between being an inch away from the pile of poop and you're laying on a clean place on the ground? You can still smell it. It's still all over you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so so that's my premise, is that I got off the X, but I still can touch the ink. So if the bomb still drops, I'm still getting hurt. There's a certain radius we need to be away from a bomb when it detonates for us to be safe. We've got to get that X really needs to extend to the radius, to the outside the radius of that bomb blast, where we need to get not just off the X, but we need to get the hell away from the drop zone. We need to be away so it's safe, because there's some points we're still being hurt and affected by the parts in our life that were terrible, because we won't get any further from it, because we still feel like we need to see it and touch the space, because we still feel comfortable and secure because that made us feel like that was who we were. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does make sense. And the power of what you're recognizing is that that is a truth. That was a truth for me.
Yeah.
Right. That was a truth for me at one point.
Yeah.
Where I want us to get to, and what I want to inspire in people is that inch, even though you're still in the poop, that realization that I went an inch.
Yeah.
That's gratitude. That's progress.
Yeah.
That's the ability to let you know, dang, I do got it in me. Because every single step across the poo, as long as you're moving away from the poo, is the goal.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get stuck on the poo.
Yeah.
We get stuck on the poo and think that is the rest of our life.
Yeah.
Because we have squashed the dream.
Yeah.
That there is, first of all, it's how in the hell did I get on this poo, and why am I stuck to this poo? But that's step one, realizing and identifying.
Yeah.
I'm here now. Okay. I'm not denying. I'm not saying I live in poo, but I'm telling other people, I know I live in poo, but I'm telling other people I live in a skyscraper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it literally is that realization that is the hope. That moving, I'm not there yet, but if I keep moving, then I'm no longer there. There's overcoming that fear of that moving is what will get you off of that X.
Yeah.
And so even if I'm still on the poo, I now know I either have to move a little bit faster, or I have to deal with where I am right now to move me along a little bit faster. And the more I can come to that realization, the quicker I can come to that realization, then there's going to come a time, because now my hope and my faith is activated, that I'm no longer going to be on this poo.
Yeah.
And even if I smell like poo for a little bit even after I get off the poo, I'm not on the poo anymore.
Yeah.
And so that is the journey that people don't want to go on.
Yeah.
That is the journey that people say, is my life really worth it? That's where we start evaluating, am I worthy of getting off the freaking poo?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that, because nobody wants to step in poo. Nobody wants to be around poo.
No.
Nobody wants to be, even when we pick up dog poo.
Oh God.
Sorry, people. I'm a dog owner who's like, I took my dog way over there in the bushes, so I didn't have to do that.
You got a lot of bushes space now that you don't have to worry about picking it up.
Yeah, but if they poo in my walkway,
you got to get it.
And I got to deal with it. And so, because it's like, oh, what is that texture going to be like? Oh my God, I'm going to pick this up. And that's life.
Yeah,
what is it? What stain is this thing going to leave on me?
Yeah.
Am I going to smell like that forever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why the walking sucks sometimes, because I take the dogs with me. The common sense, but don't take the dogs with you. The dogs need to be walked. They need to be socialized. They need to be walked. And I need to be. Right. Well, I know that's my kids' babies. They need to do something with their damn dogs. But they'll go poop on the walk. And it frustrates me, because it usually happens when we just leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're further enough from the house where I won't go back. Because if it happens close enough to the house, I'll go back and I'll drop it in the trash, because nobody wants to carry a hot bag of poop. But the reality is, we do that often in our life, because as we were talking, because we, as you said, the statement is, no one ever thinks about how we got on the poop. I know how we got there. Anyone want to know? Let me tell you how we got there.
I have an opinion about that. I just know that that's something that comes up, that people say, how did I get here? I know.
We
What's
pooped
your
on
answer?
ourselves. Because we pooped on ourselves.
Yes.
Something happened where we chose to be frozen right where we are, so much so that we couldn't hold our poop in water anymore, and we let it go and let it go and let it go. And we deal with the sores on our body from that being on our body and the smell being there. We go nose blind to it, and it becomes acceptable to stay in that spot because we became comfortable with the X that we were on. And that was it. And then you get embarrassed when you look down and realize, I got poop all over me.
That's why forgiveness is not, it is about the other person and letting it go and all, it's about you letting it go, letting this person not off the hook, but it's really about our part. That's why there's a part that we have to forgive ourselves and acknowledge our part in it. It doesn't mean I slapped my own self. It doesn't mean I broke my own arm. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Sometimes people want to use semantics like, would you think I punched myself in the face? And it's like, no. And I don't think that you deserve to be punched at all, whether by yourself or by anyone else. I know, but I'm saying the actual victim of a domestic event or just being a victim, period. It doesn't matter what the victimization is. It's we have been victims at times.
Yeah. And
when we think that forgiving this person who victimized us means that they're getting off scot-free.
Right.
No, what's really happening is when you deal with what they did to you, that's a very real thing. And that is separate from what I did or didn't do, that I have to acknowledge my part.
Yeah.
Because that's how I got on the poo, not acknowledging my part, being the victim, doing this to myself over and over and again. Forgiving when I should have left, or forgiving and leaving, right? Staying longer than I should have stayed, not speaking up or being too afraid to speak up. So this thing just perpetuates until it becomes normal.
Yeah.
That's why kids who are abused or people who are abused over long periods of time end up falling in love with their abuser.
Yeah.
Because it becomes normal, and they've been conditioned to believe that what I'm doing to harm you is love.
Yeah.
So now I have to go, and when I see on TV, I see a Hallmark movie, and I'm like, oh, but they're kissing. That's not what you told me love is. You told me love is do what I say.
Yeah.
Oh, they're holding hands. That's love. People do that. So now I have to unlearn and relearn what these things actually mean, redefine them for who I am now that I'm no longer living on the poo.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. Sometimes, even though we're not living on that previous pile of poo, sometimes we'll create a new pile of poo and poop on ourselves because either scared to death or, you know what? It's gotta be poo smelling because I don't smell the poo in me. Boop.
Self-sabotage.
Exactly. Because we're used to being
in the poo,
failures in the poo. And I'm like, I don't want to live like that anymore. I keep looking at my life and thinking I've done that on my own enough to sabotage a situation. But easily can easily, whenever we're honest with ourselves, we can say, well, I didn't do it like that the last time. Well, maybe you didn't do it exactly like the last time, but you did it enough to make sure that the situation didn't work.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. I don't think any of us should do that. Because poo stinks.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to go nose blind to some poo.
But think about what poo is. It's our body rejecting waste.
Yeah.
Toxins. It's our body's way of eliminating those things that will keep us impure. So or keep us unhealthy.
Yeah.
When people have septic, when they're septic, there are toxins in their body.
Yeah, the bloodstream. Yeah.
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 And the body's natural response is to reject anything that's foreign and to reject anything that is not helping it to survive. We were born to survive.
I mean, maybe that's what the issue is with so many of us. We don't want to survive. Some of us have lost that survival instinct. We're the Walking Dead.
That was one series I never watched completely.
Oh, I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch
it. Why didn't you watch it? Just out of curiosity.
I I used to be the biggest horror movie fan probably that there ever was. But there was a point where the Lord showed me that the things in the horror movies aren't things that are just made up from a creative mind. They're things that are based on the capacity for truth, whether it be in the realm that we could see or in the spiritual realm. And so for me to watch horror films means I have to open myself up to that possibility and allow that spirit to transfer into my mind, whether it's a nightmare that keeps me up to affect me or whatever. So I thought, you know what? If that's the case, then I don't want to open myself up to that anymore. I mean, not to mention that some of them are scary, but some of them started to lose the scare factor because stuff isn't like Jason and Halloween and them things, Freddy Krueger from before. Some of the stuff now is just downright evil, right? And I just don't want that in my mind. I have enough in here to worry about than trying to add that to it. So I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I never I haven't been like a big zombie fan ever. Apocalypse and all that kind of thing, because I think part of it is my mom is a teacher of eschatology, you know, the second coming of Jesus Christ. So there's a little bit of the reality of what I believe from a religious and spiritual aspect of what's supposed to happen. And I teach my kids, well, did it say that in the Bible? So there's a part of my upbringing that refers to the Bible as truth. And I never heard anybody, with the exception of leprosy, right? Which was a flesh-eating disease, but not necessarily people eating people. There was a time in the famine where the king, the two moms were fighting over the baby. And one of them was willing to sacrifice the baby and shoot the other one, whose baby it actually was willing to sacrifice herself. And that's how the king knew the difference. So when you talk about evil and what people are doing, there is some symbolism of how we're eating each other by competing, by, like you said, the truth of what's happening behind this blood and gore that sells movies. The truth of the matter is that when we talk about a dog eat dog world and we talk about comparison, I always say, my new friend says comparison is crap. And I always said that comparison was from the enemy, because there is so much work to be done that I don't ever have to be comparing myself to anybody else or in competition with you, even if we do some of the same things or know some of the same people or have some of the similar gifts. There is still a nuance and there is still a way of delivery that you're going to have and the people that you're going to be able to connect to that I'll never be able to connect to in that way. They may like me, but I will never connect with them in that way. Likewise, there's some people that will love and adore me, appreciate your wisdom, appreciate your smarts, appreciate your genius, but you won't be able to reach them. And I think that's the beauty too of our naturally coming together to speak about our Knight&Craig experiences that will reach so many more people. And perhaps the more voices we get on to the show with various perspectives, various experiences that we're able to help, that third perspective or that fourth perspective that's happening through this platform will be able to reach others, you know. So we should be catalysts for one another and not cannibals.
But that's the for real thing. But and as you're saying that, sometimes we cannibalize ourselves because we eat our seed. We eat away at ourselves. We eat away at our dreams. We discount we don't have the thought of the worth. Well, that's not even true. We don't look at the value of
Value.
ourselves.
Yes.
And the worth I have for myself is so low. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a constant thing. Even today, I ask myself, okay, why didn't I get more done today? But there are some days, honestly, when you have to look at the work that was done was exactly the work that needed to be done, even though it wasn't any of the work that we wanted to do. Yes, today I made my plan today, but my steps that the Lord ordered were so far different than what I got accomplished today.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I have to have faith that what happened, because there are other days when I didn't do anything, and that's my fault. And I can't say today is God's fault, but I say, yeah, okay, yesterday was my fault. Today was God's fault. Okay. Am I going to get to where I'm going to get to? Yes, I'm going to get there because I have to. Yes, I'm going to get there because I want to. Yes, I'm going to get there also when God allows me to. And it's not going to be 40 more years getting from this part to the next launch of what I'm supposed to do. But we have to look at those days and take accountability for ourselves and say, hey, what was my part in this, and what was God's part in this, and be excited and ask the Lord to forgive us for the days that we didn't do our part, or for the moments we didn't do our part, and go from there, and then forgive ourselves for the shortcoming, right? And yes, Lord, to forgive our unbelief and forgive the fear of being afraid of his God-sized plan that we took on when we took it off the job board to leave heaven and come here to do this. We chose this, and there's some choices we made along the way to kind of add it and screwed that part up and added extra weirdness. But the job board was probably this long. We've probably made it 10 times as long by our choices to add silly things to it, right? So I think just in thinking about being grateful and tying that back to what that looks like is I'm thankful I have to become thankful for where I am at this moment.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent. My steps added to God's ordered steps. I have to be thankful because he could have given up on me.
Right.
And I'd failed the assignment and been gone. And I think you made the point earlier, as long as I'm alive and I have this breath that I'm using right now, I have a chance to get closer to what the Lord gave to me to do. And so for people who are like me, who have a hard time forgiving themselves for missteps, I think we just have to use this moment to start over. And I think I'm going to put into practice in my own life the 12-step program to sobriety, and not use it not because I have an alcoholic problem. It's just, I think it's because I use that to sin and restoration, because it is a restorative process, and say, how many days am I sin free? How many hours am I sin free? And look to give and be excited for that. If it's a day, if it's a few hours a day, that's great. We're going to start over, because we're never going to get 2 days free, because our mind we're not going to get probably 4 hours free. But we can't continue to allow ourselves to be depressed and take steps back to live on the poop, because we can't forgive ourselves for the last thought or the last action. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And a lot of that is the acknowledgement, right? Like, is it Paul that says, I would love to do good. I'm paraphrasing. I would love to do good, but every time I try to do something good, evil is ever present. Evil is always going to be present. And so we're always at choice. And I think it's when we can acknowledge in that moment that, hey, that wasn't the right thing for me to think. Shoot, I shouldn't have said that. Right. You know, that came out. I shouldn't have laughed at that. You know, and when we can course correct ourselves, then that's one less thing that I have to go around, as, you know, we always use the analogy of the 40 years, excuse me. That's one less time I have to go around that mountain, because, or that the Lord has to put me in a position where I'm going around that mountain because I'm not getting it. I need to start getting it. And I love that you might have seen me grab this paper or saw me do something. You talked about the 12-step program, and I grabbed this paper because I wanted to share the science of cravings, and specifically with it's a psychological piece of overcoming addiction.
And so I was talking with this, she's a pharmacist, but she's a doctor, a doctor who's a pharmacist. And she said that the science of cravings is this acronym that says DEADS. So DEADS. And the first D is to delay. It's to delay even by 15 minutes with whatever you're craving. Give yourself 15 minutes to say, do I really want that? Do I really need that? And you might do it in the 16th minute, but the goal is to recognize it and to give yourself that delay to recognize what the craving is. And then the next step is to escape it. So to identify triggers and then walk away from them. So if we can escape the trigger, it's not that the trigger won't come. And I think that's what sometimes people don't realize is that the triggers will always come. Yeah. That's a trigger's job. Is to keep you tethered to the past and make you act in the way that you used to act, and then thwart the plan that's before you, and then ruin this present moment. And then that's all you're focusing on is what I just did. The A is to avoid. So if you're going to a place and you're, like you said, you want to use a 12-step sobriety process, but let's say you actually did have an alcohol or a drug problem, and you're going to a party, or you're going to a club, or you're going to a reception, and there's going to be alcohol there, then you can avoid that side of the room. You can even avoid going to that event until you're strong enough to say, I can be in the presence of this, and then use the other one, which is escape, or the next D, which is to distract. Sometimes we do things because we're simply bored. It's our default pattern. It's our default behavior. And when I don't have anything else to do, I drink, I smoke, I gamble. The first thing that I want to do when I'm bored is go to a club, whatever it is. So when we're distracted with those things, we can actually, the S is to substitute or replace. So for people who are, let's say they're addicted to tobacco or chewing tobacco or cigarettes or whatever. Sometimes it's the physical motion of doing this with the cigarettes and taking out the cigarette, putting it in your mouth, getting the lighter. So what other motions could you do? Yeah. You could a pack of gum, take it out, and chew, because what you're really wanting is that sensation or the cessation of what's happening with your mouth, and so I thought that this was really, really powerful, and I wrote it down. It was on that call that I was telling you about earlier. Yeah,
I'm writing that. I'm writing those acronyms out right now. I'm going to post them here in a second. Keep going.
Yeah. So when I learned that, I was like, that's powerful, because just like what you were saying around the 12 steps, this is for the psychological practice of addiction, but it can go to any other thing that we're addicted to. I remember another person that I was speaking with, another coach, and he said he found out that he was addicted to people. And that resonated with me, because sometimes the fixer in me, the helper in me, I learned later it was called enablement. And not in a technical way of, hey, we're supporting this enablement of this new, technology. No, it's literally enabling behaviors, enabling things. Put an S on the end, because the S is substitute. So DEADS. And so it's literally the enablement of whatever it is that they want to do, even if I know that it's not good for them to do. So I was actually silencing my voice. This is what I learned later. I was silencing my voice to allow people to make a choice for what they wanted to do, but I was actually supporting bad choices, like literally things that could harm them or hurt them. Even if I would speak up, I would still allow them to do it, instead of escaping or avoiding or distracting or removing myself from that situation. So I think that's a powerful thing to recognize.
Yeah. And I also noticed there's something new about StreamYard too for me. If you start a banner and you don't finish it, and you move away from it, it disappears.
Oh, so you have to click save or enter?
Enter, yeah. Sounds like I started the same S banner, because I have them all separate too. So we use them again. They're all, the D is separate, A and blah blah blah.
Okay.
And it's just interesting how I started it 4 or 5 times. You were talking, I clicked away on something else. I was like, hey, I just had that. Damn it. But yeah, I love that acronym. I'm going to use it as part of my life. I may even show up on, I mean, obviously I can't, well, I want to find out who created it.
Yeah,
them.
it's a psychological piece of overcoming addiction, and that's what we were talking about. Because I made the point in the conversation by saying I can teach psychology. I'm qualified to do that. However, I cannot diagnose because my teaching credential in psychology, my teaching certificate of psychology, and my understanding of mental illness and my life coach certification still doesn't qualify me as a doctor, and my doctorate is in education, doesn't qualify me as a doctor to prescribe, or a psychiatrist or a psychologist.
Sure.
So I was saying I was observing someone's behavior, and I wasn't sure if the actual addiction, meaning my body relies on this to live, right? In my observation, I didn't see them dying if they didn't do it. But the addiction was almost the act of going through the process of getting ready to smoke, or getting ready to dip, or getting ready to whatever they were doing. Your body naturally gravitated toward, every morning at 5 a.m., I got to have a cigarette. Every morning at 5 a.m., I got to smoke this blunt. Every morning at 5 a.m., when I get up, the first thing that I do is go to my drawer and get my stuff. And so you didn't even have the actual feeling or the sensation of it, but it was the act of the behavior and the pattern that needed to be interrupted and broken. And so then that's when she brought up that sometimes it's such a psychological thing that the pattern has to be broken before the actual behavior can be broken. It has to start in the mind of this delay, this escape, this plan. So I was very fascinated by that.
No, it's true. There was some issues I was going through when Sandy died that made me think, okay, fine. If I course correct that, whenever I think about doing this, I'll get up, I'll do push-ups, or I'll do sit-ups.
And that's the substitute.
Right. And it's distracting too.
Yes.
To try to escape, that situation. And I think it's helpful. It really is. So what do you think? This is something we could use to.
I almost.
Even though I'm sitting in the dark. Even though I'm sitting in the dark. Yeah.
Me too. I almost believe like if we use this as an audio, if we weren't comfortable with our faces or whatever, or this session itself, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm almost sitting in the dark now too, even though my floodlight is on, but this feels almost complete. I want to have our conversation tomorrow in our more perfected format. And I'm almost positive that this could be used in some way as a show, as a part of a show, teaser or something.
Why don't we do this tomorrow we'll do an opening specifically for this, and then we can stop that and I can bolt it onto this other one, right? And then probably even do a close for that one too. And I'll put that on the end of it. And then we do what we're going to do anyway. Makes sense.
Okay.
I came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mighty is with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is the same. Ascending, word bending, burns, birth in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh is antithesis of mess. It's the pressure so clean. Go long, you better catch a God throwing blessings. Dreams manifested, you get what I mean. God always had a plan, he created for me.